Další prezentací, která bude následovat, tak bude jeden z mých velmi oblíbených systémů, který není jenom pro největší firmy, ale myslím si, že nejmenší zákazník, který si koupil Axle, tak má zhruba 2 zaměstnance a 1 střižnu. Axle je něco, co má v sobě to AI. Často AI je opravdu absolute ignorance. Něčemu předám svůj osud. My, když jsme ráno tady jeli na FAMU pražskými kolonami, tak jsme si říkali, jestli tam dojedeme včas nebo ne, a Google nás vedl zajímavými ulicemi. V životě jsme ty ulice Prahy předtím neviděli, ale dojeli jsme včas. A to bylo to AI, že jsme tomu předali, a kdyby nás dovedla ta navigace někam jinam, no tak to ignorujeme, že jo. Ale aby to nebylo jenom absolute ignorance, ale opravdu artificial intelligence, tak je potřeba umět to porozumět tomu a správně to používat. A právě opravdu tu AI v nejlepším slova smyslu najdete v Axle.ai, což je systém pro správu a automatické tagování veškerých mediálních souborů. Nejenom videí, fotek, zvuku, vlastně i textu. A tady bych poprosil, abyste opravdu všichni, ještě než bude oběd, zkusili dávat pozor, protože tohle je jeden ze systémů, který nenajde uplatnění pouze na FAMU nebo na JAMu a na dalších velkých institucích, ale všude tam, kde zpracováváme nějaká videa. Já třeba nevím, kdy jste naposledy něco četli odborného a kdy jste se naposledy dívali na nějaké video odborné, ze kterého jste potřebovali čerpat informace. V mé generaci je velmi časté, že místo toho, abychom si něco nacházeli na Google, tak si to nacházíme na YouTube, najdeme si to video a podobně. A stejně tak mám spoustu videí uložených, nebo mám nějaké fotky, a když v nich potřebuju vyhledávat, tak ten Axle mi právě umožní najít v tu danou chvíli, co potřebuju. Primárně tedy Axle vznikl pro videoprodukce, ale v tuto chvíli je použitelný pro každého, včetně mě osobně. Takže hi Neil.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Do you remember when you have been here at FAMU for the last time?
I think it wasn't last year, obviously, but the year before, I think it was, yes.
The year before.
Yes.
I remember. Yes.
Lovely, yes. Yeah.
You were here with your Apple Mac Mini.
Yep.
You remember, and it was a very good, not presentation, I would. Huge company, but for small companies and medium and small business as well, because
Yes.
I think your system is very, very scalable and useful for almost everyone who needs some media projects or files. And I think that nowadays everyone use some video, photos, pictures, and audio. So it's your turn, your time.
Lovely, thank you.
Start.
Okay, well, thank you for the introduction. That was very good. I've got quite a few slides, and of course, I'm between you and your lunch. What I'm going to be covering here is Axle and Connector and Catapult as well. So thank you for inviting me here. I'm Neil Blake. I'm based in London. I've been working with Axle for around about 8 years now. So hopefully you can see my screen. The format today will be, I'll show some slides, and then we'll go and have a short demo of what I've been talking about, and then we'll switch back to slides. So firstly, we'll talk about Axle, what's special about Axle, how we access remotely, and then some Creative Cloud integrations. Then we'll talk about AI, of course, which is very important for us. So important that we added AI to the company name. I know that archiving is very important as well, so we'll talk about archiving. And then we'll look for a short time at Connector, our automated workflow engine, and also Catapult, our file transfers. Now, I'm not sure about the protocol for questions. I guess they happen at the end, so please write anything down, or even just shout out if you do have any questions. Axle itself is all about finding content. So I'm sure you've all seen pictures like this where customers have rooms full or shelves or cupboards full of drives with lots of random content on it. And they're relying on one person to remember where the content is. What we would provide is a way of finding that content. So we would recommend that you transfer the media from the individual drives to some kind of NAS or SAN that Axle would then scan and then present what we find in a web browser. So it makes it very easy to find content. And it saves companies lots of money. It saves them time, and it saves them the cost of reshooting content that they may already have. And we keep it very simple. And the whole mantra about Axle is keeping it simple. So we have a web browser interface that a user logs into. And we support not only video, but we support a wide range of photos, audio, and graphics files. So different parts of the company can all be using Axle at the same time. And as I say, we keep it simple. We don't do everything because users don't like complexity. So we help make installation and training and operations very straightforward. The power of Axle is in our metadata. We work with system admins to design metadata schemas, and these can be based on free text fields or drop-down menus or radio buttons or date fields, and we've got some examples here. And here's another page just with some different examples. Again, we've got more drop-downs, more radio buttons, and also a thing called tags. With drop-downs and radio buttons, a user can select a single value from the preset values. With a tag, they can select more than one value. Again, it makes searching for content very straightforward. We can also import metadata. So for example, we have migration processes from the old Final Cut servers, or even just from Excel files. People can drop Excel files into a watch folder, and then we will then import the metadata from those files. Once the metadata is in the system, then we can use our powerful search tools to find everything. So we have a simple search that will search through everything the user has permission to see. And we also have advanced searches to allow to do very focused searching in the system. Accessing Axle, of course, is important because we are a web browser interface. Users in a facility can access Axle across their standard network using an IP address. For external users, and of course that has become very, very important in the last year or so, we have a reverse proxy service. We add a little bit of code to Axle, and it then duplicates or copies the user interface onto a remote, secure cloud service. And that's where the external users log in. The URL for this can be based on an Axle.ai domain, or it can be based on a customer domain as well. The user interface or the user experience doesn't change for somebody being in the facility or somebody being remote. Working with partners is very important for us, and one of our strongest partnerships is with Adobe, and we have free panels for all the Adobe Creative Cloud applications, including Premiere Pro, of course, After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. The panels are all identical across the applications. A user opens a panel, logs into Axle with their standard username and password, sees the content they have permission to see, can view content, can play content in a browser window, and then import the files directly into the editor. In the case of Premiere Pro, we can also import bins or collections of clips into the editor as well. Let's just have a look at that. So I'm going to switch screens now. If you bear with me, I'll find the right one. Just want to confirm you can see my screen there before I go on. So this is the Axle interface. What we have down the left-hand side is our catalogs. That is what people have permission to see. In the middle, we have our media here. And then on the right-hand side, we have our metadata. At the top, we have our search tools as well. And if I select a file, we can see the metadata for that particular file. And we can see it's very similar to the example we showed in the slides. What I want to do is I want to search for some content. So one of my metadata fields was A8 for Audi. So I can search for A8. The simple search searches through everything I have permission to see. So it's come back with 19,000 files, which is far too many for me. So I'm just going to add another keyword to narrow that search down. So I've gone from 19,000 files to 8 by adding another keyword. And then I can add yet more keywords to narrow the search down further. I can save this search if it's something I'm interested in. So each user can keep their own search filters. The other search tool I have here is my advanced search. So here we can build up complex searches using different lines of search commands. I can also search for particular metadata. So I'm going to search for Audi and then car type. And these are the items that I have permission to see. I'm going to add another line, and this time I'm going to search for car color. Notice how I don't have to move up and down the list of metadata fields. I can just select the additional field, the field I like, and the system suggests the correct field. And then I can select the item I want to search for. Now, in this case, I've only got 4. Imagine this was a football team where you maybe have 15 players listed. I don't want to have to manually go up and down the list selecting the player. So I can start to type the metadata field I'm looking for. And again, the system will suggest the correct field. And then I can search. And the system then comes back with a number of items. And I can still add more keywords to narrow that search down there. And again, that is something that I can save as well. Let me jump back to my PowerPoint now. Again, hopefully you can still see that. Now, AI or machine learning is really important to us. As I say, we changed our company name to Axle.ai, and we have a number of different levels of AI tools to fit different customers' requirements. One exciting news is we've actually just acquired a company to help us with face recognition. So we have our own face recognition tools in-house now. And one of the benefits of this is we can now offer on-premise face recognition. So we can set up a server in a customer facility so they don't have to send content to a cloud to be processed. And that's a brand new feature that we've just launched. Looking at the different AI solutions, we have Axle Speech, which is a very low-cost speech-to-text that does multiple languages. Unfortunately, it doesn't do Czech. However, we also work with Speechmatics, who's the gold standard for speech-to-text, which does support the Czech language. And Axle Speech, for example, does English and German and Spanish and Russian and a few other languages. Axle Faces is our new, our own feature. As I say, it gives you on-premise or cloud-based face recognition, and people can, or users can send content to the server, and it will come back with a description of who is in the clip and whereabouts in the clip they are. We also work with Microsoft Video Indexer. Microsoft provides slightly more tools than the other systems. So they have face recognition, but at the same time, they also do speech-to-text and shot description and OCR, and we'll have a look at some examples of that in a moment. Looking at Axle Faces, this is an example of a clip that has been processed. We can see the different faces in the system here and whereabouts in the system that they are appearing in the clip. So the gray area is where the person is, the white area, the person is not there. And we can see the names and the faces there. This is the face learning backend where the system is taught. The Axle faces needs to be taught, and it's very straightforward to do. And this means that companies can teach the system exactly the people they want the system to recognize. So the president of the company, the CEO, the board of directors. We can also provide a curated sample of faces. So we have a database of around about 2,000 faces, typically famous people or sports teams. So you can start off with something out of the box. And it takes around 20 photographs to recognize somebody. So we get pictures from different angles, maybe even different ages of the person to help us recognize them. And it does mean that we can recognize people at different angles and also in different parts of the screen as well. This shot is for speech to text. So we've got the presenters on screen there, and they've got the words that they're saying in the player window. And we can see the areas that they've said the words, and also the words appear like subtitles in the player window. And then down the right-hand side, we have the edit tools, so we can correct any errors. Once corrected, we can export the speech files as a simple text file or as a subtitle file for use elsewhere. And we can also import external SRT or subtitle files into Axle, and that will display the text just as we see it here as well. And let's have a look at an example of that. So I'm going to switch back to my demo system here. What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to do a search for Hart. This is basically Joe Hart, the goalkeeper. And what I've got here is I've got two files. This file has come up because the name is in the file. I'm not interested in that one. I'm interested in the file with this little head icon here. So I'm going to select this particular file. And we can see that we have a number of different tabs underneath the player window. And if I select faces here, we can see all the faces that have been recognized in this particular clip. And I'm particularly interested in Joe Hart. So what I can do is I can filter the person's name who I'm interested in. And then I can see that Joe Hart is in the clip twice. And we can then jump to that area, play the clip, and we can see Joe Hart there. And if I jump to the other area, we can see him there too. And then I can go off and do something with that clip, like maybe drop it into a bin and then transfer it to an editor. Looking at the transcript for this, in this case, it's the commentary track. We can see the commentary track there, and because it's a match, there's quite a lot of speaking. What I'm interested in is I'm only interested when they say the word goal. So I'm going to enter the word I'm looking for. I could also enter a phrase as well. It doesn't need to be a single word. And then I can come down here and I can see every time that the word goal is mentioned. So I'm interested in this bit here. Zabaleta scores his second goal of the season. Then we can jump to that. And if I can play it, and then we can see the ball going into the net where he scores. And again, I can do something with that. Maybe mark the in and the out of that particular segment and then pass that on to an editor there. That's very cool. And let's just go to the next bit. Archiving, of course, is very important. Our customers are continuously creating new content, and they don't have unlimited storage space to store that content. So they need to move older content off the main storage onto some kind of lower cost backup. And the way we can do that is typically with an LTO backup solution. We work with a number of different archive companies, so Archiware or Zendata or SpectraLogic. We can also work with direct attached LTO drives as well in smaller systems. We have a very clear indication of whether of the archive status of a clip. So the clip with no triangle has never been archived. The clip with a triangle has been archived, but it's actually still on the main storage. And then the clip with a dark triangle means that the clip has been archived and the actual user has also removed that clip from the main storage. If we need to edit with this high-res version again, we can recall it from the archive and the triangle would change again from black or dark back to light there. One of our most popular modules is our Archiware module. We've got many installations where we have Axle on one server and Archiware on a separate server. Users can select the clips they want to send to archive. We pass that data to Archiware, who does the backup. And that could be a single LTO drive in a library, or it could be dual drive copies as well. Once Archiware has completed the archive, they will send us a completed notification, which will then update our metadata, and they will also send us the LTO tape information. So if it was a single tape, we'd get one number. If it was dual tapes, we'd get two tape numbers. And we talk to a particular Archiware profile. So users can actually run Archiware doing different profiles within the company, as well as having Axle to control it. And we can also control archiving from Connector, our workflow engine, which we'll talk about shortly. We'll talk about right now, in fact. What I said before is we like to keep Axle and its operations as simple as possible. But our customers really demanded more. They wanted Axle to do more and more. And the best way we found to do that was adding an automation layer. So Connector is a completely separate application. You don't need Axle to run Connector. You don't need Connector to run Axle. And it allows us and our customers to build workflows in projects out of graphical units. And there's almost an unlimited number of workflows that can be created, from simple automated archive, maybe based on the age of a clip, or publishing clips to YouTube or Facebook or something. We have a client in Belgium, a football team who won the Belgian Football League, and they use Connector to deliver small segments of games or matches to their remote editors. So rather than the remote editor downloading a 300 gig file, they can select just the little segments they want from the match, and then we can very quickly use Connector to create new tiny clips and then send them to the remote editor. We've also got a customer in Spain who's using Connector to do daily backups to a data center with an MD5 checksum. So every day we scan their storage, we see if the file has already been copied to the data center, and if not, we then do an MD5 check and then copy the file to the data center. And it is all based on a graphical interface, which I'll show you just in a moment. Workflows can be triggered manually, or they can be set to run automatically, or they can even be triggered from Axle as well. And there's a Linux and a Mac version of the application. And this is the indication of how you trigger it from Axle. You'd select the clips that you want to process. You go to the action menu in Axle, which is the three dots, and then we'd say send to Connector, and then choose the workflow required from the list. And Axle is talking to Connector and grabbing the list of workflows that are in the particular project. And let's have a look at Connector. And again, hopefully you can see that. There's a reminder that we've got the Agora Plus demo. So this is the interface of Connector here. What we have in the middle here is our workbench. This is our building blocks. This is where everything will live. Along the top here, we have the different workflows that are in the project. And as I can select from different workflows, you can see that some have very few modules in them. Other ones are very complex. And of course, we would typically help build these as well. So this is not a fire and forget application. So we would help start off building the workflows here. To create a workflow, I go over to my panel here. I can see the different workflows here, and I can see the different units. This is the really important part. The units are how the workflows are built. So I can scroll up and down and select different units, and then simply just drag and drop them into the workflow. I can select also, so I can search for units and drag the unit into the workflow. Now this one's quite interesting. Obviously it's interesting because it's an Axle unit. So we can integrate tightly with Axle from connector. And it has a thing called expose functions. These are the particular commands that are available for this particular unit. So if I wanted to log into Axle and then I wanted to do a search, I would add a search command to this. I'd then join the two units together in the workflow. And then if I wanted to add more functions, let's say I want to archive, I can then add the archive module. And then I can join these together. And in this case, because it is a search term, I can place a search term in there. Another key function that makes this very easy is the triggering. I can go back to the units here and I can select trigger. And I've got many different types of triggers. I've got manual triggers. I've got automated triggers. I've got triggers that I can drive from Axle as well. So again, we can create workflows that can do exactly what the customer needs. And this includes transcoding as well. So connector includes FFmpeg and FFmpeg, so we can do a lot of transcoding inside connector. So if somebody in Axle selects a file and says, I want to publish to YouTube, that could pick up the publish to YouTube workflow in connector, which would transcode the clip to the correct format and then publish it to the customer's YouTube channels here. So we've got that there. And I can see the project is running there. So everything is just running manually in the background there. And I mean, here, for example, we can see some flashing lines here. This is showing me that the workflow is running, and we can see a visual indication of the workflow running here, which is very good. And what this one's doing is every 3 seconds, it's getting the time, so the kind of time right now, and then we're subtracting 2 weeks from that. That creates what we call a variable. So we're storing that number in a variable, and then we're passing that variable over to another workflow. And we can see this flashing here. This is the variable in a completely separate workflow. So Axle will log in. It will search for files that are over 2 weeks old, and then it will archive them. And again, all that would happen automatically. And because it's using the Axle archive commands, then the Axle interface will be updated to show which files have been archived. So that is connector. So it's very powerful, and we can use it to build many different workflows. So what I'm going to do now is go back to my PowerPoint. And lastly, we have a new application called Catapult, and it's a file accelerator. It's a very simple file accelerator because, as you understand, we like keeping things simple. So it works on the idea of a hub, our server and clients, so hub and spokes. And we can install the server either on the Axle server in the facility or on a separate server. The server comes in Linux, Mac, and PC versions, and the client download comes as a Mac or a PC client. And basically, the user would log in to the system using an IP address and a username and password, and then they can upload files or they can download files. And we're also using this at the football club in Belgium. So the users select the clips they want in Axle, drop them into a bin. Connector looks at the bins every minute in their case, because they're always in a rush. We pass the files to particular folders in Catapult, and then the users log in and download the files from the folders that they have permission to see. So it's a very fast workflow for the user because they have very fast turnarounds. Catapult is also very useful for remote content creation. So if there's a camera operator out somewhere and they've shot some content, then they could use Catapult to upload content to the server. We also work with other companies like File Catalyst, for example. We work with them as well. We've got a number of installations, including one in Spain, that we're using File Catalyst to deliver content to and from the customer's facility in Madrid. Partnerships are very important for us. We work with over 70 different companies to provide different workflows. There's a phrase in English called don't reinvent the wheel. So we don't like reinventing the wheel. So and what that means is if the function or the application exists, rather than us writing our own, let's go and talk to that partner company and work out a way of working together so we can provide more and better workflows for our clients. So we're continually adding to this list of partners. So we work with lots of different storage vendors, we work with ingest vendors, and we work with lots of different archive vendors as well. And if you did have an idea of something you wanted to do and that company's not on this list, we could obviously go off and talk to these companies and look at ways of working together there. So the bottom line, really, the headline is Axle is very simple to operate, very simple to install and set up. We support a huge range of different formats of photographs and graphics, and standard definition, high definition, and also UHD, as well as a huge number of graphics formats as well. And that is time for questions. Now, I've got no idea what the actual time is, but
okay. I don't see we have any question.
One of the important things, if you did want to have a one-to-one demo, if you work with the team at Agora, we can set up a Zoom meeting and we can then answer your particular questions one-on-one. I do also have an external cloud-based demo system that is available. So again, if you wanted to look at Axle in your own time and have a look at the different functions and features, we can also set up a remote account for you as well. And again, if you'd like more information about that, talk to the team at Agora and they can help you. And I'm guessing that will be, I haven't sent this PowerPoint to Agora yet, but I'm guessing all the PowerPoints will be provided to you after the event.
Of course, all presentation will be for disposal for our guests. And so the last chance to have any question, because after this presentation we have lunch. So,
which is the important thing. Let me stop sharing so people can see you. There we go. There we go. It's a more interesting picture than me.
Okay, I should be here on my camera from computer and from huge camera. Okay, we have no questions now. Okay, so Neil, I'm happy that I could see your presentation after 1 or 2 years here at FAMU, because there are many changes, many things are new. Maybe the same questions as was in previous presentation. Do you know how many installations do you have, for example, in Europe?
In Europe, we've probably got about 300. Worldwide, we've got about 700. And they are mixed all over Europe. We are particularly, we've just hired a couple of new people. We've got a new person based in India to manage the Indian market from there. And also we've hired a new person to look after the Eastern Europe and the ex-Soviet countries as well. So we're continually growing and continually expanding.
Okay, so I think it's fine to say now that if anyone has any question, so send it to us, or you can meet with Neil and with our colleagues from Agora at some, I don't think, at some conference, and I hope that these conferences will be in real world. We can mention NAB or IBC. You will be there, Neil. Am I right?
Yes, we'll be there. Yeah.
Okay, we are happy that this year we will meet there. So if someone wants to travel with us, try to send us an interesting question and we will take you with us there. Okay, so well, thank you very much for your presentation. I hope that the next year we will meet here at FAMU or somewhere in Las Vegas or Amsterdam.
Yep, lovely. Well, thank you everyone for your time, and thank you very much. I shall jump off now. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Have a good lunch.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.